in the middle of it. He didn't say that we're going to die in the middle of it. So what you've got to understand when you remember the route, first of all, you got to have clarity before you sail. Ought to have some help right there. You see, the older people back in Mississippi used to say, I know that I'm a child of God, although I move so slow. And then they would suggest why they move slow. They said, I'm going to wait until the Spirit comes and I'm going to move at God's command. You see, some of us, we've gotten so deep and wonderful until we start moving without the mandate of the Master. Some of us, brothers and sisters, we start making our own moves as if God is not smart enough to tell us where to go, what to do, and how to do it. You remember Abraham got in trouble. You remember when he and Sarah tried to help God out, he began to manufacture his own blessing. And you've got to understand, sometimes when you try to manufacture your own blessing, your blessing will turn into a burden. Are y'all listening to me here tonight? And he says unto him, he says now in Genesis 22, he says, Abraham, what I want you to do, I want you to get the son, Isaac, the one whom you love. Now, I don't want what you manufactured. I want your miracle baby, because I didn't tell you to go there and do something else if you had just stuck to what I said. And somebody here tonight, you're angry because your revelation has been on delay, and you put it out there and people are looking at you saying, when are you going to get what you were shouting about? When are you going to get what you were claiming? But I came to tell you, every delay is not a denial, because sometimes he's developing me, or he's still developing what he got for me. Is there anybody here believe that something is on the way in your life? But you've got to have clarity. You've got to get all of the instructions before you sail. It was in one phrase. He said, let us pass over unto the other side. No matter what happens, we still gonna pass over. Can I tell you tonight that your dilemma is not your destiny? You ought to shake your neighbor's hand. That sounds good to me. Shake your neighbor's hand and say, neighbor, your dilemma is not your destiny, because somebody has given up right where you are because you're facing some kind of storm. You're facing some kind of situation. But if he told you you were going to survive, guess what? You're a survivor. If he told you you were going to come out, guess what? You're already coming out. Some things he just puts you through just for the heck of it. Sometimes he puts you through some stuff just to bring you out of some stuff. He'll let you get down just to pick you right back up. He'll let you get sick just to turn around and heal you. He'll let you get darkness just to turn around and give you light. He'll let you get broke just to put more money in your pocket. Is there anybody here that has ever had to deal with the paradox of the pilgrimage when God works in reverse? I don't understand why God will allow me to do this, because he's trying to teach them a principle. I don't need you to talk about how you're going to survive when I already told you you were going to arrive.
Big up all listeners on Helping Hands Ministry. This is Dr. Steele. Just continue to listen to Sister Sharon and enjoy your day.
Come on, talk with me. Look at your neighbor and say, it ain't about survivalship. He already told you you were going to arrive. Listen what the Bible says. We're already more than conquerors. What are you crying about? You've got to have clarity before you sail. And then the text also shows us that we have companionship that's steadfast, because he says, listen, when you sail, the reason I know you're going to make it, it's a guarantee, is because you're not going by yourself.
All right.
Somebody here tonight, you've forgotten that he's with you. You have forgotten. You're crying about everybody else that has stepped out of your life, and you haven't realized that he has that kind of relationship with you, that it's a companionship that's steadfast. No matter how rocky it gets, he's right there on the rocks. No matter how stormy it gets, he's right there in the storm. And your problem is he's not doing anything. But can I tell you, he's active even when he's inactive. Because guess what? If it wasn't for him, it would have been worse. Y'all not listening to me. I said he's active even when he's inactive. Even though you don't see him doing nothing with the physical eye, he's still doing some things behind the scenes. You're complaining that, God, I just lost a job. Well, guess what? He allowed you to lose a job, but guess what? He's still keeping you. Your lights are still on. Your gas is still on. You still got gas in your car. No matter how much it is a gallon, God has still been keeping you. So that means there has been some activity even in zero activity. Can I get about 25 people to just give God praise that even when it looked like he hadn't been doing nothing, he's still been doing something? Does that lift your spirits tonight? That you can stop complaining about who's not for you and who's not with you and say it's just a guarantee, because he says, I'm not just sending you, but I'm going to sail with you. But then he says the course of the route is, thirdly, he says it's to the other side. The other side, that's where the real you's going to come out, the other side. And brothers and sisters, you see, watch the text. He takes them from the shore to the sea to get them back to the shore again. And before he gets you there, he has to send a storm. He has to permit a storm to shake you up some more, because evidently it's some stuff on the past shore that he don't want on this shore. I'm not making it up, because now when he was teaching, they let him handle it. When he was blessing, they let him handle it. When he was working miracles, they let him handle it. But when the storm came, they tried to fight on their own. And he's trying to teach somebody here tonight. Aren't these some good principles for your life tonight? He's trying to teach somebody tonight that if you just get your mind right, God said, listen, I got this. I got you. I got it. He says, listen, we're going over unto the other side. He takes them from the shore to the sea to the shore again. And the devil is in between saying, listen, I see where you're headed, and I want to stop your ministry before you get there. And sometimes God will speak to us through natural things. I was looking at a medicine bottle earlier today, and it says, shake well before you take it. And I came to tell somebody, sometimes he'll shake you well. Look at somebody and say, he's just shaking you. It's something in you that you don't know that's in you. And the only way you stop your ministry before you get there. And sometimes God will speak to us through natural things. I was looking at a medicine bottle earlier today, and it says, shake well before you take it. And I came to tell somebody, sometimes he'll shake you well. Look at somebody and say, he's just shaking you. It's something in you that you don't know that's in you. And the only way it'll come out of you, you got to get in some hot water. It's something in you, because your conversation changes when you get a crisis, because here they come just because of a little storm. They wake him up and ask him, do you care? Now he's on the same ship, and they say, Lord, what's wrong with you? If he didn't care, he wouldn't ride. And the text shows a principle that they had been missing it all along. Because he told them all along, he had been doing cross commentary. He had been telling them, listen, I'm going to die on the cross. He didn't say we're going to die or drown on the water. His assignment wasn't water. And that's why I tell you, you got to have clarity. You got to stick with him long enough to know that he's up to something. He didn't say I'm going to die in the water. He said, listen, I got to die on the cross. And that should have been a good enough guarantee for them. They should have said, listen, the storm is not going to kill him, because the water is not what's going to get him. He has to hang on the cross. But because they missed it, watch this. He says, now when you remember the route, look at somebody and say, neighbor, remember the route. Tell them again, remember the route. Tell them one more time, remember the route. The reason that's important is because, watch this, the last thing you must understand is that you're not traveling alone, because the text says that there were some other little ships with them. I came to tell you, you got to watch how you zig, because somebody else gonna zig. I came to speak to the leaders in here tonight. I came to speak to you that's in ministry tonight. You got to be careful what you do, because when you zig off the course, guess what? That ship behind you, they thinking that that's the route that they supposed to be taking. And how many people are messed up in life because they have become zigzaggers? Where could this church be tonight if it wasn't for zigzaggers? I'm not making it up. It said there were some other little ships with them. You're in the lead ship and you got other ships following you. So that means what you do, that's what they're going to do. And you got to be careful if you want this church to go to the next level. You got to make sure you stay on the course. I came to speak to some parent in here tonight. You got to stay on the course. You can't be zigging and zagging, because if you do, your children going to do it. Look at somebody and say, neighbor, stay on the course. Here it is. Here it is. I got to quit. Here it is. Here it is. You got to remember the route. Not only do you remember the route, but then when I get to verse 37, watch this. You got to learn how to rest when it's risky. Tell your neighbor, neighbor, you got to rest when it's risky. Tell them like you mean it. Tell them, neighbor, you got to rest when it's risky. Tell that person on the other side, neighbor, rest when it's risky. Look at verse 37. It says, and there arose a great storm of wind. As seasoned fishermen, they could handle the boat being in the water. But they became uneasy when they saw some unfamiliar activity when the water got in the boat. Every now and then, God will advance your circumstances to teach you, even when you're in a risky situation, learn how to rest. And that's God's word for somebody here tonight. You're sitting in here looking cute, but when you get home, you can't rest. Many of you going to work tomorrow, you can't rest because you're afraid of what's going to happen. I came to tell you the code word tonight is rest. Why don't you give somebody a high five all down your road and say, neighbor, you need to learn how to rest. I know it's risky, but you need to learn how to rest. The text says, and there arose a great storm of wind. This storm came out of nowhere. This was a whirlwind. The wind was going up and coming down, and then it also had rain in it. And all of a sudden, this storm just comes out of nowhere. Is there anybody in here that has ever been hit by the unexpected? You were going along fine, and just all of a sudden, the storm hit. He says, when you've been hit by the unexpected, you need to learn how to rest. What is the tension in the text? What we're getting ready to see, they had weak faith but strong prayers. Huh? If your faith could ever match your prayer, you will see God move in ways that you couldn't even imagine, because they didn't have any faith in the companionship of Christ. They said, listen, he must just be another passenger. Just because he's asleep, does that mean he's not handling things? And I came to tell you, brothers and sisters, many of you, you've been praying strong prayers. But God says, I'm upset at your faith level. Because in verse 38, when they finally remembered that he was on board, they start talking crazy talk. They say, Master, you see, here it is. This messes me up, because how can you call him master and then suggest that he's insensitive to your issue? Huh? Just the fact you call him master, that means he's the instructor. That means he's in control. So how can you suggest that he's in control, but yet he don't care? But when your faith is not where it ought to be, then it will stress you out. It will worry you. Matter of fact, Philippians chapter 4 talks about that. Be careful for nothing. The word careful in the Greek means don't worry. That word worry comes from two Greek words. Watch this. It means to divide the mind. Huh? It means that my mind is going in opposite directions. On this hand, I believe God is able, but on this hand, I don't know. On this hand, I think I'm going to trust him, but on this hand, I think I need to do some of this on my own. On this hand, I think he's able, but on this hand, he ain't moving fast enough. You see, your mind is divided, and that's what Satan does. He comes to divide, and when he divides, he can conquer. But if you can ever win the battle over your mind, because when you got to even be careful of what gets in your ear, because when it gets in your ear, it'll go to your head, and when it get in your head, it'll get in your heart, and when it get in your heart, it'll get in your spirit, and then that's when your spirit starts fighting with your soul, and the devil is saying, come on here, you know there's nothing happening for you at church. You've been shouting, you've been giving, but ain't nothing happened yet. But I dare somebody to give God some praise in here and say, the devil is a lie. God is moving in my behalf, because guess what? I could have died before I woke him up. Here it is. Tell your neighbor, rest. Tell him, chill out. I feel your heart beating fast. Rest. You worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, by the end of this week, next week? Rest. You worried about what's going to happen next month? Look at somebody, lay your hands on their shoulder and say, just rest. That's all you got to do. Tell them, I know it's risky, but rest. I know it's rough, but rest. The question is, how can I rest? If it's a guarantee, running out of verses, I'm just about through. It's a guarantee when I remember the route, and I rest when it's risky. But if I'm really going to come out, I've got to learn how to refocus on the Redeemer. Because storms, in a crazy way, will get your mind off of him and put it on what you're enduring at the moment. Huh? You see, what he needed from them was not, how can I say it? I say it like that. What he needed from them was not a reaction. He needed a reconnection. You're not listening to me. I said he didn't need a reaction. He needed them to reconnect with who he was. If he sleeps in the storm, why are you up? If it wasn't an emergency for him, why is it an emergency for you? You're not listening to me. You ought to chill out. He went to sleep. Now, please understand, the text also tells us the truth that he's both human and divine, 100% human, 100% divine. Humanly, he was asleep, but divinely, he was still handling things. Aren't you glad that he's still handling things? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, he's still handling things. Watch this. They say master. Charis, mellow in the Greek, means to be concerned or to be of interest. Don't you care whether we perish? That word perish in the Greek means whether we are destroyed or whether we're going to lose. And now, watch this. Here it is. The voice of a saint did what the virtue of a storm couldn't do. Let's wake him up. You didn't hear me. Lightning flashing, he's. Thunder roaring, he's. Waves knocking the ship from side to side, and he was in the hinder part of the ship, sleep on a pillow. Water could have got down there where he was, and he's still. The wind is blowing vehemently on both sides, knocking the ship side to side, and he's just. But when his child called, maybe tonight the voice of your problem is greater than your voice. Maybe tonight he's waiting on a transition of voices. He's saying, I heard the voice of the storm, but I'm waiting on the voice of my saint. Could it be tonight that you haven't really prayed yet? Storm, he's asleep. And sometimes your problems can speak so loud. But when the storm was going, he didn't move because he knew the storm had no power. But you said, Reverend, we need to refocus on the Redeemer. Why do I need to refocus on him? Because you forgot just how much power he has. Yeah, you forgot. When the recession broke out, that shouldn't have even been a conversation for you. You should have been saying, my God shall supply all of my needs. See, I'm just getting you to refocus tonight. According to his riches, and go on, get sick if you got to. By his stripes, I'm already healed. You see, I ain't worried about a thing. You see, I don't want to focus on what I'm going through. I want to focus on my a penguin. Somebody shout a penguin. Shout aloud, a penguin. I was intrigued when I saw a penguin walk. I wanted to know, why is it, does he just, y'all got it. He wobbles, then he stops, then he goes forward. Then he wobbles again, he stops, and he goes forward. I wondered about that. I really did, Pastor May. I wondered, why is it that he wobbles? I said, is it his weight? Is it something? Is it the way is it something? I said, he wobbles, he stops, then he goes forward. So I did a study on it, and I saw that the reason a penguin has to wobble and then stop before he goes forward is because his eyesight is so strategic that if he don't wobble and then stop and refocus, he'll tumble over. Y'all not listening. All I came to tell you tonight, all you need to do is just wobble. I wish I had somebody here that had some penguin faith that just, I see the storm is getting me, but it's knocking me from side to side, but I'm gonna wobble a little bit, but I'm gonna stop before I step forward. And when I refocus, I'm gonna say, let's get it on. Is there anybody here? Can I get about 50 people in here to just get you a wobble? Don't worry about nobody that don't want it. Just get you a wobble. They don't have to understand, but so much stuff has been happening in your life. It's been messing with your focus. But tonight I came to tell you, just wobble a little bit and then stop, reset your focus, and then take a step. Come on, get somebody in here. Help me wobble in here. I know it's rough in your life. Y'all ain't wobbling like you mean it. Come on, wobble a little bit. Then stop and then take a step. Let the enemy know I'm going through some stuff, but it's just setting me up for a wobble. But when I get my focus back, look at somebody and say, I'm fighting for my focus tonight. I got to get my focus back because I'm looking at how bad it is instead of how good God is. So I got to wobble. I'm looking at how sick I am instead of how healed I am. I got to wobble. Look at somebody and say, you ain't going to like me when I get my focus back. Because if you hating on me right now, just wait till I get it together. If you don't like me now, just wait till I get it together. Look at somebody, give them a high five and say, wobble, wobble. That's all I got to say. When you see your enemies tomorrow, when they start messing with you and trying to set you up, just go. Is there anybody here can go ahead and get you some practice? What about those of you in the back? Can you help me in here tonight? Come on, get you a wobble for whatever you're going through. Just wobble a little bit, then stand, refocus, and then take your step. Anybody here feel what I'm talking about? Look at your neighbor and say, I'm getting my focus back. If I had about 10 more saints that wasn't too cute and ready to go ahead and have some church, I dare you to just go ahead and wobble, wobble. You've been going through some stuff. It was almost to stress you out. You were wondering what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my mind off the problem. I'm going to get my mind off the problem. I'm going to get my mind off the problem. I'm going to refocus and put it on my provider. Is there anybody up in this house that can get you a wobble, wobble and say, I'm fighting for my focus? All right. Let me quit. Settlement. I dare you to pull in your driveway tonight. I dare you to pull in your parking spot tonight and before you go in. I know what you left on the other side of the door, but I dare you before you go in. I dare you to go ahead and get cocky with it. Tell the enemy, come on, come on. If you mess around, let me get my focus back. It's going to be on. Come on. Stop and then go ahead. Anybody here feel like you can make it from here and get to where God wants you to be, but I just need to refocus on my Redeemer. Listen. I'll say good night to you. The last thing, when you remember the route, when you rest when it's risky, when you refocus on the Redeemer, verses 39 through 41 shows us that it's going to be a reverenced rescue. When he does it, it's going to be like he's never done it before. Look at somebody and say, he's going to blow your mind. Look at him again and tell him, neighbor, he's going to blow your mind. Come on, tell him like you mean it. Tell him, neighbor, he's going to blow your mind. Right here, right here. It's in the phrases. Verse 39, watch this. It says, and he arose. And he arose. Number one, I want to tell you, he stands triumphantly. See, what the devil don't want, he don't want him to get up. Huh? See, before Calvary, he used some power. But after Calvary, he said something he never said before. The same hands that they nailed, it took that for me to make this testimony. Now I got all power in heaven and in earth. Look at somebody and say, neighbor, when he takes a stand, something is getting ready to happen. Huh? He took a stand at a wedding party when they ran out of wine without a fermentation process. He changed water into wine. He took a stand, Matthew chapter 14, when Peter was drowning out there on the water. Watch this. He stepped on the water, stood on the water, spoke on the water, saved on the water. He saw the situation on the water. And then Peter learned how to walk with him better than he learned how to walk to him. Y'all done got tired already. Okay, let me wrap it up. Look at somebody and say, all he got to do is just stand there. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, just get him up. When he stands up, he's getting ready to handle something, because those who are standing means that they're in an authoritative position. Is there anybody here ready to relinquish your authority and just back up and say, Lord, go ahead and handle your business, because you know how to do it? Look at somebody and say, this ain't mine. I'm going to let the Lord handle it. Is there anybody here? Let me see. Back down. Yeah, Mississippi. You know those older people, when you got grown before your time, when the whooping wouldn't do it and the punishment wouldn't do it, they say, you know what? I'm gonna put you in the Lord's hand. And all they had to do was just back up. Because when they put you in the Lord's hand, something gonna happen. They don't have to come back to you. You're gonna mess around and come to them, because there's something about when he stands up in a situation. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, when he gets up, he's getting ready to do something.
Hi, I am Pastor Carol Purcell, and I'm listening to Sister Sharon on Helping Hand Ministry. Don't move that dial, because there's a blessing waiting for you.
I'm listening now to Helping Hands Radio. Sharon, and you're doing a wonderful job. This is from your counselor and mayor, Fitzroy Wilson.
He arose, watch this, and he